Dang, there's a lot of alcoholics in here. Oh, man. You want to talk about nervous? Here I am. Hey, man, thanks for your reading. I know what it's like to be nervous. I'm sitting right here. I almost wanted to face that way and talk to all you guys. Then you would see my bald spot, so I decided, here we are. My name's Chris. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I'm very blessed to be here. So much gratitude. Thank you, Keith, for having me. Thank you for being here, Tony. To the newcomer, welcome home. This is where it's at. My sobriety date's 3/5/25. By the grace of God, I found AA, and it's changed my life in so many different ways. I have a mom and a dad that had me at 15 years old. I come from a whole list of addicts, alcoholics, from gambling to drugs, alcohol. I mean, chaos. You know, it's just so deep, man, so deep that I never recognized. I always live with that. It's not going to happen to me. I'm different, as I'm sure a lot of us think we're different. There's a lot of faces that I don't see in here because they're dead, because they thought they were different. And let me tell you, you're not. We're all here. We're all here for a reason, and you're all truly blessed for being here. You know, gratitude is something I live by every day. I wake up and thank God. Thank God I get to spend it with Maria, the love of my life, dude. Thank God I have a great job. Thank God I know a ton of people that are in here that laughed while I dropped that. But my childhood wasn't easy, man. My parents had me at 15. They didn't know what they were doing, you know. I was like the test dummy. They had me, popped out, and we just ended up moving everywhere, all across California. I had no sense of belonging. I didn't know where I was supposed to be, you know. I didn't have a leadership role. I didn't have someone to tell me, hey, you shouldn't do this. You know, hey, you shouldn't drink that. Hey, you shouldn't put that in your veins. Hey, you shouldn't commit that crime. I made excuses for myself. You know, the law even couldn't tell me that until it was too late. But I'll tell you what, dude. The dysfunction in my family is still there. You know, I have parents that right now are dealing with homelessness just because their choices. They're sober, but their choices is what has got them homeless, you know. And I really didn't want to touch on that, but choices is what we all have, you know. And this disease is live and kicking every single moment of the day within us, you know. And it's all about really making that choice, man. Hit a meeting, call your sponsor, work the steps. Life's beautiful today, man, because I'm able to make the right choice, you know. And if I can't make it, which I usually don't, I don't go with that first thought. It's always wrong, you know, it really is. I'll call somebody, or, you know, I'll run it off, you know, my partner, which is in the program as well. I'm very blessed for that. But yeah, man, for a long time it wasn't like that. I really just ignored all the warning signs, you know. I drank till I couldn't think, you know. After the alcohol came the cocaine, the heroin, the meth, you know, snorting it, slamming it, whatever way I could do it, you know, robbing, stealing, and, my disease put me in prison for a long time. I killed somebody in a bar fight, It's heavy on me, you know, but I've been forgiven. I pray, and, you know, I walk that line every day to make sure I don't go back that way, you know. And that night was a crazy night, man. Waking up, you know, you come to and you're all over the news and newspaper, and, you know, you have no clue what's going on except reading, you know. I really didn't know exactly what happened until months later. You know, it finally kicked in that my alcoholism has caused me to lash out. My anger caused me to, proceed with violence, and I punched somebody and killed him. You know, his name's Jody. Rest in peace. But, yeah, man, I ended up doing my time and getting in there and just running amok again, you know, not learning, pointing fingers. You know, that wasn't my fault. That was his fault. You know, that was your fault. Everybody else's fault. We were talking about the finger thing. I always point the finger at every single one of you. It's all your fault. It's my dad's fault. He's the alcoholic. Mom's fault. She's the addict. Grandpa's fault. He's the gambler. You know, it's just on and on. Point. Until I turned that finger around and really, you know, started understanding, like, hey, you're making these choices, you know, you're the one that's at fault constantly. But before I did that, you know, I used the other finger as well, you know, that one where like, you ain't gonna tell me what to do, period. You know, nobody could tell me what to do for a long time. I'm 43 years old, and until just recently, I recognized I need to take some suggestions, you know, and that's what's really changed my life. So all you newcomers, man, close your mouth and listen up. You know, just ask for ask for help, ask for guidance, man. Get rid of that ego. You know, you hear it all the time. Your ego's not your amigo. That's real talk right there. Yeah, man. Prison, death, and redemption, man. After years of being in there, man, I finally decided to make a turn, you know, and I stopped drinking, you know, stopped using, stopped selling, stopped the acts of violence, and jumped into college. Decided I wanted to help people. I had a good run, you know, but it wasn't good enough because I didn't have a sponsor. I wasn't going to meetings. You know, I wasn't reading the big book. I wasn't doing anything that we do in here, you know. And I came home, and sure enough, not too much longer after that, I had a relapse because I wasn't spiritually clean. You know, I wasn't emotionally fit. You know, I wasn't ready to live a life out here, you know, the right way, you know. And man, I'll tell you what, dude, I keep looking back at all the mistakes I've made, and it's all because I wasn't involved, man, in this program. You know, I didn't stay in the middle of the herd. So before 3/5/25, I had a relapse, and boy, was it a relapse. You know, I went full throttle, you know, with the whole needle in my arm, you know, drinking and violence, and it didn't stop, man. And I knew, 100%, I knew that I'm going to prison for life if I don't fix this. Can you pass me a water, please? And I checked myself into cry help. And I did that because I was tired of living with this freaking ego, man. I was tired of thinking I could do this all by myself, you know, and you can't. We can't. And that program's changed my life, man. So anybody in a program today, man, stick to it, dude. Pop in these meetings, dude, and work the steps, and whatever type of work they're giving you in there, bleed through that pen. Because I'll tell you what, that's what I did, you know, and it's changed me, dude. Some stuff came out that I never even knew lived inside of me, you know. You know, I had some sexual trauma as a child, you know, and I never knew that bothered me until, you know, I started letting go, you know, and talking about it, you know, like I am right now. You know, I don't give it any energy anymore. You know, I don't give it any power anymore, along with my addiction. Yeah, you know, I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. So what? Judge me for what? You know, I'm recovering, period. You know, there's a lot of people out there living in fear that they're going to get judged. I don't give a period. And that's one thing, I roll with that every day. You know, bottom line. But finding AA, man, the promises come true, dude. They really do. If you stay in the middle of the herd, if you speak up, speak out, dude, and ask for help and just get involved, dude, your life will truly change. I promise you. Man, dude, positive. The positive thing about all this, dude, is, you know, it's seeing all you guys here, you know, coming out. I know each and every one of you came here to see me. I'm 100% for sure. Right? But I do appreciate that. And, yeah, Tony's badass. You know, once again, I'm not a liar, so I'm not going to lie to myself. But I do appreciate being part of this. You know, I do appreciate making my mess a message of hope, you know. And all you guys are freaking miracles. You know, I kept talking to myself for the last couple of days, like, what am I going to say? How am I going to pump this up for big Tony Alva, you know? But really, dude, really honest to God, dude, I would like you guys all to look next to each other and recognize these miracles. You're all miracles, dude. You truly are. And never in my life have I ever been surrounded by so many beautiful people that come here to fight for their lives. You know, fight for themselves, fight to get their family back, fight to get their mental health back, right? Fight to get their jobs back. it's all a fight, man, and who knows the way it's all going to end, but I'm very, very glad you're all here right now and fighting the fight, and come here to be, to be blessed with this message, dude, and just one day at a time, period. I'm not too sure how much time I have, but thank you.
Now, what he said. Now our main speaker will share his experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Tony A. from Los Angeles, I believe.
Wow. Actually, I'm from Santa Monica. We're our own little Soviet territory of Los Angeles. I'm Tony, and I'm an alcoholic. It's an honor to be here. I love being in a full room of knuckleheads. It's nice. Because regardless of whether we have 44 years or 44 hours, we're all in the same boat together. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's terminally unique in here. I sure thought I was when I first got here, though. Boy. My sponsor is Robert V. My sobriety date is September 20th, 2006. By the grace of God. That's like a miracle to even say that date. I want to thank Mimi, Mike. That was insane. Chris, I'm sorry. See, all these faces and names, I'm already jaded to the point of where I called Chris Mike. But you know what? Nobody's perfect here. It's about progress. And just to be able to correct myself without getting all offended and egoed out about it, that's a good thing. Like you said, my ego is not my amigo. It got me in a lot of trouble, especially when I was a kid. First 10 years growing up in Santa Monica and Venice. Wow. I think the first 10 years were probably the best years of my life, if you want to know the truth, because I hadn't really, the only drug that I had at that point was like sugar frosted flakes and Fruit Loops and Tootsie Rolls and Good and Plenty and, sugar. That was my first drug, and I still love that drug. As a matter of fact, I've kind of pulled back, and now it's about coffee and what's my favorite treat lately? I like sugar still. I still like sugar. It's okay, though. Us skateboarders, we get by with missing teeth and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. I've been a professional skateboarder since I was 16, but it took a while because growing up in Santa Monica, if you don't have your shit together, man, nobody's going to let you on the team, that's for sure. I wanted to be on the surf team really bad. I wanted to be on the Jeff Ho team, but I had surfed for Blue Cheer, which was kind of a north side company, and they kind of scoffed at that. And I didn't have enough money or a BMW to be on the natural progression team, so that wasn't going to happen. Jay Riddle and those guys just looked at me and just were like, but those guys, they had the money, they had the cars, they surfed well, and they had the best looking chicks in town. That's for sure. I just write down a few little notes. I don't rehearse anything. I'm not here to bedazzle you with profundity. I heard that at the Bread and Roses meeting one time, and I had to steal that line. But that was all men too, so rigorous honesty is like pretty much the code there. And from Chris, that's what I heard right off the bat. I was just like, wow. To even get that transparent and be as rigorously honest as he just was for 10 minutes, that takes not only some time in just clarity, but it also, it takes some balls to do that, Nobody likes doing 9 steps and 10 steps here. Nobody. I don't care who you are. The funny thing is, just the gratitude for today is so deep. It's just, I looked forward to this all day today. I went up to Zuma and surfed in the morning. There wasn't any waves. I didn't care, though. The water was beautiful, and I just paddled out there and caught a few, came in. Some kids in the parking lot recognized me as a professional skateboarder and a surfer, and I just took the compliments as gracefully as I could and just said, hey, it's good to see you guys. Don't worry about, there's no stingrays out there. I said, there's a big seal that kind of looks like a shark going on you, but don't worry about it. Just I've learned like from 10 years old, how to surf and just be as, just know that God and Mother Nature is running the show. I'm not running the show out there, so I just go with the flow, literally. That's how I do it. And the only way I got on the surf team was that I was a decent skateboarder, and I grew up in Santa Monica as a sidewalk surfer. And my dad wanted me to be a professional baseball player and the whole list of things, or else end up working at Hughes Aircraft for 40 years like he did. But, that drove my dad to drinking. That shit, and it ran in our family. I mean, it killed generations of men in my family. Aboriginals don't do so well with alcohol in their blood system. My dad's Mexican-American. His name is Refugio Alva Jr. And my mom's from Holland, from Amsterdam. So genetically, the DNA is right there for drugs and alcohol. I love both of them. Whether it be in Amsterdam or Chihuahua, Mexico, I'm going to get loaded. But yeah, that's kind of what it was like just growing up in the neighborhood, just being a little Mexican kid with, just like a big ego, but wanting everybody to just like respect me and fear me and then, take care of me, like all of those things, just everything. And with girls, I mean, my dad was like, drinking every day and going to work like third shift and coming home and just drinking himself into a stupor, going to sleep, waking up in the morning and doing the same thing, going to work again. Cool thing was he had like the 16-year-old, like I had the best, just the foxiest babysitters, man, taking care of me. Taking me to see a Whole Lot of Love tour at the Forum. We won the tickets at the Tomacan shoe store by stuffing the box, I got to see Led Zeppelin with my babysitter, which was pretty cool. With Bobby, resty, beautiful Bobby. Yeah, part of my addiction, though, started out early, like before I even got loaded, and a lot of it was sexual stuff, Fortunately, I'm hopelessly heterosexual as far as that is concerned. My dad had some other tendencies. My dad was bisexual, as far as I know. And it destroyed my mom and his relationship when I was about 10 years old. I won't go into the details, but when my parents split up, we were living on the south side in Ocean Park, and my dad was like, if you really love me, you'll come with me, and you'll live with me. And he put all that. And I wanted my dad to love me more than anything in the world, That was it. It was like, just give me a hug and tell me you love me, which never happened. Unless it was a sloppy, bear hug with the gristle on his face, like the 5-hour shadow. And yeah, my dad had definitely issues with emotional, like just showing his true emotions and being an alcoholic. You know what? He just did the best he could with what he had. There was nothing more. My dad, I had clothes on my back, went to decent schools. Had a place to sleep, a warm place to sleep at night. There was food in the refrigerator, which kind of brings me to my first drink. My dad left the resin in the back of the top shelf, thinking he could hide it from me, and it was some gut rot crap like Rainer Ale or something. I don't know if you guys remember that shit. It tasted awful, but you know what? It did the trick, because when I grabbed that bottle and I took a big slug off of that, I had like a cashmere sweater vest on. After that, I was like, All of a sudden, I was sexy. I was intelligent. I was humorous. I was like, I felt the effects of alcohol right away, and I loved it. And I just liked it a lot, And growing up in the 60s, I was born in 1957 in Santa Monica when the hospital was like a little brick building, 3 stories. It didn't look anything like it does now. UCLA's bought that building and changed it completely. But I saw my birth certificate not too long ago. Somebody actually found it in a storage locker out in San Jacinto back from my drinking days. And my wife and I had split up. I was married for 8 years, had a beautiful daughter from the relationship. But you know what? I married one of my lower companions. I married a kind of rock and roll groupie chick that was hanging out with one of the bands that I was in back after the punk rock days. There was a band called the Scoundrels that I was in, and then there was another one I played in a bunch of different bands. There's one even from the guys are from Hermosa Beach. And I won't mention their names because it's anonymity and is the spiritual foundation of everything, but it's all our beliefs. So I stick to the principles and the traditions of this program when I speak. But yeah, I played in a band called Community of K at that time, and I played in a band called Junkyard, named after Nick Cave's first band from Australia. And that's how I met Vicky, my wife. And we just decided it was a good idea to get married because I was making a lot of money at the time selling skateboards with my name on them. 1977, I'll backtrack a little bit, at 19 years old, I started my own business after being a 3-time world champion skateboarder, having records in the Guinness Book of World Records, all the fame, all the fortune, all the stuff that I went through at a young age, fueled by sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And the reason, I know this is a meeting of AA, but the reason that I mentioned drugs is because drugs, to me, was a low-grade spiritual experience. I love mixing champagne and cocaine. It's a good mixture. And lower companions of the opposite sex love it too. Mushrooms and tequila, puro indio. I'll be out in the desert naked running around on that shit, just having a ball. And I did that stuff too, you know, it was crazy. After rolling my truck, you know, with my friend and I, you know, we had this 4-wheel drive truck that we drove all crazy, and we were high on mushrooms, and we rolled my truck on a skate trip out in the middle of the desert. We just busted the windshield out, put our sunglasses on, and drove it back to L.A. I mean, that's some alcoholism for you, but, you know, the trippy thing about today is, and the gratitude for today, is that I could get up this morning and go surfing, and I wasn't hungover. And I wasn't looking for that window of opportunity to have a drink today because I was hungover and wasting part of the day as well as just feeling like shit. Because when I'm hungover, boy, the only thing I can think about is that next drink. I don't even have to have alcohol in my system anymore. I'm still thinking like, when and where can I, without looking like a piece of shit, tip that first drink? And you know what? Once I do that, I'm off and running. Alcohol is my drug of choice. I love it. And I still love drugs and alcohol, but you know what? They don't work for me. They just don't work for me. September 20th, 2006 is my first day just without, you know, self-medicating. But the only reason I got there, the only way that I got there was that I had a moment of just like, I was just knocked to my knees with a spiritual malady. I was just like so broken and so just incomprehensibly demoralized that I knew something had to change. And I didn't know anything about the ego part of it or the selfish, self-centered, and self-seeking, but I knew I was pretty self-centered. And, you know, and all that praise, all that stuff because of the skateboarding, you know, and, you know, combining that with being a surfer and just the pride, you know, just got in the way all the time. And it always got me in trouble, you know. I lived in jail in my own self-imposed hell on earth. Like, it's like I went to prison without even going through the doors. But don't get me wrong, I was in and out of jail all the time. The cops would, like, every time they caught me, you know, drinking and driving or getting in a fight at a punk club or whatever, I went to jail like plenty of times. But you know what? It never changed anything for me. I was straight like, you know, like Chris said, it's just the middle finger would just come straight up. And I was just like, any type of authority in my life was straight up like, I got something for you, you know? And it's funny because when chicks would do that to me, I'd always go, what is that, a kickstand for your nose? And but I could get away with it, you know, because I was terminally unique. Do you know who the F I think I am? See, because that's the thing, is it's just like the delusory perception of self. That's what I ran on, ego. And I was known as Mad Dog in my crew, you know, because I was just an aggressive, mean little dude, you know. But when it came to competition, especially on a skateboard, you were the enemy. Even the guys on my team, guys like Stacy Peralta, I was going to take them out. It was like every chance I got. You know, I remember one time, like even in the movie that they made about our lives called The Lords of Dogtown, there's a scene that is so true, yet it seems fictional. Is Stacy looks at me in the last event and he goes, "Hey, TA, it's either you or me." And he's like the sweet, nice guy, all handsome with the long blonde hair. And I look at him, I go, "No, it's not." I go, "It's me." And that's the same attitude I had as an alcoholic too, you know. It's just like it was all about me. Selfish, self-centered, self-seeking. Do you know who I think I am? And if you didn't, I was going to let you know. Verbally, physically, whatever it took. You know, steal your girlfriend, you name it. Liar, cheat, and a thief, you know. But I thought I was cool, though. I thought I was running things cool, like I was a rock star, you know. I was like, I'm going to show Mick Jagger how to really party. Jimi Hendrix, 27, he's gone. I'll show him how to rock. It's crazy that I even lived past 27 or 30 years old, if you want to know the truth. Somebody should have shot me in the back or whatever, you know, for having sex with their wife. Or, you know, stealing their 8-ball of cocaine or whatever. I was always up to something, you know. Mickey Dora was my hero, and Mickey Dora was like the most scandalous, just grifter on the block, you know. But he was also the best surfer in Malibu, and he was the most handsome, invited to every cool party. And that was my mentor. I was like, I'm gonna be just like him. They called him the Cat, and I was like, yeah, the Cat. You know, Mickey, Miklos, Chapin, Dora. There's a few surfers out there who know who I'm talking about. But you know, the low grade spiritual experience, oh man, it burns you out after a while, man. It's just, what it was like was just that I was a crazy kid that wanted to be a rock star, you know. And it's all started at like, you know, 10 years old, but by the time I hit like 19, 20, 21, traveling around the world like a rock star, I was the first professional skateboarder from America to ever go to Europe or to go to any international places in the world. I go back there today and get mad respect because I got a bit of time, not to mention I know how to handle myself with grace. But back then, I would just go and just like create so much unmanageability and just wreckage. Thank God for the 9th step, boy. It's just like, for guys like me, it's a long list, but you know what? Having a killer sponsor like Robert in my life has saved my ass, not let alone given me like face and given me conscious contact with something bigger than myself too, which I call God. Because I wanted what Robert had, because he just, the way he walked and just talked and just the grace that he exemplified. When I saw him at a meeting and I kept telling him, look, Robert, I need a sponsor, man. And like Robert's, well, I got a pretty full, you know, he's a double winner, you know, he's Al-Anon and AA. And he had a lot going on, but I just kept bothering him until, you know, well, not bothering him. I just kept requesting to him that I needed a sponsor. And I was told that because when I hit bottom, fortunately, I had a few people that still believed in me. And one of them was the lady that I was living with at the time. And my little Topanga Beach hippie therapist, Cheryl, that I would just go and dump a bunch of stuff on, you know, and pay her to listen to me just dump stuff about all the reasons why my dad didn't love me, you know. And so it was kind of funny because I came there and one day and she goes, there's nothing wrong with you. She goes, you know what's wrong with you? You need help with your drinking. She goes, you know, you say that you don't want to be like your dad. You say that, you know, you don't want to drink like him and all, but you're alcoholic. You need to do something about your drinking. And at that point, like I said, I was so broken. I had been the night before cheating on my girlfriend. I was sleeping with a famous DJ girl that had worked on our movie. I woke up in the middle of the night, snuck out of her house by first going to the freezer and taking a hit of Stoli out of the freezer at like 4 a.m. Went down to Palisades Park, looked over the side. The waves were perfect. The sun was coming up. It was beautiful. And I was like, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't go down there and go surfing. I couldn't do what I loved, what I lived my life for, is just to paddle out and just even catch one wave to the beach and just feel that moment of just like, just oneness with what I would call the universe. I mean, you know, I had no idea that the key to my sobriety and the key to freedom with me was to be honest with God. to be honest with one other person, to be honest with myself. I wasn't ready for that yet. You don't know who I am. I'm special. I'm different. You know, I'm better than you. And that's the way I went into my program, 30-day program, right off the bat, with that terminal uniqueness. You know, and yeah, there was 2 counselors. One was Alan, the good cop, and one was Marina, 4'3", even with her espadrilles on and her bump it. 25 years sober, little Jewish lady from Las Vegas, the bad cop. Soon to be my Eskimo. She busted my balls every chance she got. She would pull my covers. She would tell me, like, straight up, you're a liar, a cheat, and a thief. I mean, you know, like, you're on the secrets program. If you don't read a good secret in the group in front of all the ladies even, you're going to have to read another one. Because she wanted me to get honest and to get transparent and to start, you know, realizing that, you know, I was full of shit. And with the one-on-one meetings, you know, we'd be in her little cubicle, you know, and stuff. And when she said that to me, she goes, I know you. And I was like, mumbled under my breath, fuck you, you don't know me. And she goes, yeah, I know you. She goes, you're an alcoholic. She goes, you're a liar, a cheat, and a thief. And when that hit me, and then with my ego, and like nobody talks to me like that, my best thinking in the moment was so alcoholic, I was either, I'm going to kill her. I go, I'm going to choke her out right here, stick the little Oompa Loompa under the desk. Nobody will know she's there for days. And then I'm out of this fucking place. I'm out of here. They used to drug test me when I'd come in there because I was so terminally unique still. I didn't want to live there like the rest of the kids, you know. So I would go surfing in the morning first thing. And I'd come there with my hair wet and everything. And they would just hand me a cup as soon as I came in. They'd be like, here you go. Bathroom's over there. I go straight to the loo, you know, give them a little urine sample. They wanted to make sure, you know, that I wasn't smoking dope and stuff. And they were like straight up like, you know, if you messed up there, you got kicked out. And not only did you have to start over, but there goes your money, there goes everything, you know. So they started working on my ego right away, especially having Marina in my life. You know, Marina was no joke. She just was like, you're not getting away with shit here, dude, because I know you. And she looked through me like I was a piece of glass. And it was fearful to me, you know. And fear for me is the base for anger. Because as soon as I'm in fear, the only thing I know is anger, because that's my old rusty tool of dealing with shit, you know. When I get fearful, I get angry, and I puff up. I'm like a little pufferfish. Don't touch me, you're going to get hurt. You know, so that's what I would do, you know. And it didn't work with Marina, though. Not for 1 second. So thank God I had somebody like that in my first 30 days of my life. And thank God they piss tested me. I was a daily weed smoker. I was a wake and baker, you know. I was a bong toker, you know, a bubbler. And I'm telling you, man, the 30 days just off the weed, not voluntarily, and just getting cleared of like not drinking is I had a moment of clarity, you know. I had a moment of clarity, and I actually started through just doing the first step. All I did was the first step. Just abstinence is much easier than perfect moderation for a guy like me. I was just like, I'm powerless to alcohol. I got a problem. Okay, I'm just not going to drink. Abstinence, the key. Open the door. So I was in the door at least 30 days there at Discovery in Century City, right in the middle of the neighborhood, you know. I grew up in LA, so I know all the back streets and everything. I know how to get there, and I know how to get out, you know. I'll be in your backyard skating your pool and, you know, having sex with your daughter before you even know it, you know. Just, that's how I ran my deal as a young kid. And especially if they were from the Palisades or Malibu, you know, and they had a nice BMW, because I didn't have one. So, yeah, the funny thing is, I got through those 30 days. But the cool thing was, right before I got out, I had another one-on-one, and I didn't do the suicide or homicide thing before I got out of there. And Marina looks at me, she goes, you're getting out of here. She's like, okay, there's 3 things I need to ask you, are you capable of doing? And I go, yeah, what's that? And she goes, 1, I want you to do 90 and 90. Can you do that? I go, yes, I can do that. And she goes, 2, I need you to get a home meeting and you get a commitment at that meeting. She goes, can you do that? And I go, yeah, I can do that, Marina. And she goes, and last but not least, I want you to get a sponsor. Can you do that? And I go, yeah, I can do that. And she goes, good, you got a chance. She goes, I'm glad you can make it through 30 days, but, I'll see you out there, And I was able to do those 3 things, and it gave me a foundation. It gave me a foundation in this program, by just doing what she asked me to do. Good, orderly direction. A God shot, like from just my little Eskimo. And when I started seeing Marina at meetings, like Ohio Street and stuff, I could see her way back in the room, and she'd go, oh. It changed my perception big time. Like I said earlier, the spiritual awakening for me was that my perception started shifting. And the 3rd step prayer became my mantra. I was like, relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do thy will. And I had to take that shit seriously, boy. There was no half measures for this guy. Half measures avail us nothing. And in my program, if I do the half measures thing, if I try to bullshit my way through the program, well, I did bullshit my way through the first couple of years because I had some sexual hang-ups still. Won't go into that right now, but that took a little bit longer than the weed and the alcohol. I was dealing with the honesty with my, not only my significant other, but with ladies at the meetings, especially newcomers. Because a lot of us guys thought we were still pretty cool, and we'd be like, yeah, let's go pick some strawberries. Because newcomers were easy to pick. And so, yeah, I was still dishonest even in my first couple of years, but I wasn't getting loaded at least. But my sponsor told me straight up I was lucky that I didn't get loaded. That was a slippery slope, boy, that I was climbing, with being dishonest with the ladies at the meetings and stuff. And so I went through that, though. And, ego versus equanimity, I have little notes here. I don't rehearse anything or write a speech, but I wrote down some notes just to bring up. And I had to just surrender as far as the ego goes. I had to completely just start over, smash it completely. And I didn't really learn how to do that until I started working with Robert. But he eventually opened the door for me, literally, and said, meet me at my house at 7 in the morning on Monday. And he was right on Bay Street where I learned to surf, like right in the neighborhood where I grew up. Just God was doing for me what I could never do for myself already, like right from the get-go in my meeting. And in my meeting of just like the truth, of honesty, of how deep did I want to peel that onion, And the bottom line was I just started with the first step, like I said, just admitting that I was powerless. And, alcohol is my drug of choice, but it included drugs. It included sex. It included like my ego and fame and all that stuff. So what was cool, though, is as soon as we opened the book, besides the 3rd step prayer, I offer myself to thee, to build with me, do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do thy will. Take away those difficulties, I love that prayer. I do that one every day on my knees, still, because I take my program seriously. I just want to do the 24-hour thing, that's how it works for me. That's all I got. That's all that God expects me to carry is 24 hours. I don't worry about yesterday, and I'm not concerned with tomorrow. It's about what's going on today. And that's why I'm here right now. Because Robert instilled in me from the get-go. He goes, we never refuse an AA request. Now, I might hopscotch around a little because I missed one here one time because I got a DJ gig that paid me more money or whatever, So, and here's the honesty, at least I'm letting you guys know. The crazy thing is, in 18 months, Robert taught me more than my dad taught me in my entire life. It was a miracle. I'm a work in progress. That's all there is to it. And when he caught me lying about the chicks and stuff, he told me straight up, he goes, you know how I knew? He goes, because I'm just like you. I'd have done the same thing. I could not bullshit the bullshitter. And he just said, if you continue to lie to me, you might as well get another sponsor. I wasn't willing to take that chance. I knew that the work that I was doing with him was priceless, especially when I did my 5th step. And, I did like a novel, 250 pages, And I'm reading it to him, and he's sitting in his chair just meditating, man, and just like, I didn't even think he was listening to me. But then when I would look over, he would just go, he just, like my sponsor's like a Mexican Buddhist, dude. He is a weird dude. He's like got the little gap in the teeth, and he's bald, and he's got these sunken eyes, and there's something about Robert, and he said, don't build me into, like your avatar or an icon. He goes, I got clay feet. He goes, one drink, and I'm just right there in the gutter, so. But, I couldn't help but just turn him into, a mentor to me and really take seriously the work that I did with him. And it saved my ass. It literally saved my ass, and it taught me how to surrender. And the cool thing is it says right in the book right here, in Bill's story, not Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob's okay, but you know what, to me, Bill's the guy that I can relate to because he's a knucklehead just like me. And on page 13, this is like the coolest part. It's like as soon as I read this on page 13 of all things, I was like, there I humbly offered myself to God, as I then understood him, to do with me as he would. I placed myself unreservedly under his care and direction, and I admitted for the first time that of myself I was nothing, and that without him I was lost. I ruthlessly faced my sins and became willing to have my newfound friend take them away root and branch. I have not had a drink since. Okay, that paragraph, not only is that talking about the steps already, the whole program's in that paragraph. But that hit home with me. That paragraph, page 13, Bill's story, went straight to my heart and to my soul. The Atma in me, my soul was just like opened by reading that paragraph. And I was willing to do the work from there on out and be rigorously honest with my sponsor and really give an earnest account of, like what it was like, what happened and what it's like now. And the thing that's what it's like now is that except for those first 10 years, these last 19 years have been those beautiful years of my life. I can't even describe to you the transformation. And what you see here, I've got nothing to hide at this point. I'm completely a piece of glass for you to look through right now because I have absolutely nothing that I'm ashamed of. Everything I did back then is what got me here. Everything. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I am not perfect. I have never claimed to be a saint. And even though I'm a hero to a lot of young men because I ride a skateboard well, being a surfer and a musician and all the things that are creative, that's just because God gave me the ability to be creative because the Creator, the more creative I am and the better I get at it, the closer I get to God. Because that's what God expects from a knucklehead like me because the bottom line is that I was born to be an artist, not work a 9-to-5 job like my dad wanted me to. That would break me. I might as well go back to drinking if I had to do the 9-to-5 job. I'm just telling you, it's just like I'm not even capable of that at this point. And I'm not saying that I'm terminally unique, but I'm just telling you that there's something special in me that connects me to God, and I think it's being creative. Like being creative to me is a gift. And the only reason I have that gift today is because I have 19 years sober. Because I should have been dead at 30 years old. I should have been dead at 50 years old. I got sober at 49 years old. And at 50 years old, the best present that I ever gave myself, and we had a big party at my little art gallery on Fairfax in Little Ethiopia, of all things, with people just smoking dope and drinking whatever. But I was at 50 years old, 18 days later, I celebrated 1 year sober. So for all you newcomers out there, it's never too late. I'm telling you, at 50 years old, it was just a miracle that I was able to get sober. I'm telling you. And, the obsession was lifted because the way that I did the steps with Robert, like we would give shit away all the time. Like the dope smoking, all that stuff. We'd burn a candle, hold hands, do a prayer, boom. Miraculously gone. The obsession was lifted to smoke dope. I smell weed nowadays. Well, weed's not gangster anymore. Weed's for kooks, that need to self-medicate because they can't deal with life on life's terms. And it's just, and you can buy it at a store. Give me a break. Or you're going to eat it in little gummies. It's like, what kind of sissy ass stoner are you, man? It's like, you ever heard of Cheech and Chong? You know, that's how we really do it. Or we go in, you know, with guns and we rob the pusher down the street and take his dope. And then we got plenty of weed to smoke. And when they come in with their guns, we'll have a gunfight if we have to. Yeah, weed for us was gangster back in the day. To me, it's so wimpy and so soft. It's just, I could never go back. And it stinks nowadays. It doesn't even smell good like it used to. I mean, what happened to Thai sticks, man? Come on. Those things smell good. The opiated Thai, nothing better except for PCP. So, yeah, I mean, that's what's so funny is I start rambling like this shit, and it's like, and she gives me the 10 minutes. It's just like, I got to wrap it up. You know, but this is not my first rodeo. And I know how to wrap it up and get back to, like, seriously what this program is about. If you want to know the truth, it's right behind me. You see this painting right here by Rembrandt? You know who that is? That's our little alter ego right there. That's the prodigal son. And this painting, my family's from Holland. I know who the Dutch masters are. The Dutch masters are guys like Rembrandt that were penniless at the end of their lives. It didn't matter, but they still stuck to the creation, what they were good at, to painting and doing and setting like goals for other painters. This painting, when fully exposed in St. Petersburg in Russia, there's a book about it that a priest wrote, Thomas Merton, I'm pretty sure, and in the book, he talks about sitting there all day in a chair watching the sun go over the painting. And as it hits different parts of the painting, there's different spiritual messages that come from it. And one of them is that the prodigal son, he was broken there. He was the one that went out, wasted all his money, got loaded, partied, was broken completely, came back. With the grace of God, the father accepted him back. Threw a big party for him. The other brother got super pissed off and envious and like cursed at the fact that he was even alive, let alone they were going to throw a party for him. Long story short, if you look, talk about unconditional love. If you look at the father, his hands, especially in the light from when I read this book, he's neither the father nor the mother. He's both. Because if you look at his hands, one is masculine and one is feminine. And it's holding the son and saying, I love you. And telling him, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you realized. You know, basically they're just doing a 10-step right there. And it's going to lead to, you know, making amends. But the father, having that compassion for him and feelings for what he'd been through, let alone that he made it back home, it's incredible, you know, because people nowadays, the way the world is today, we need a lot more compassion and love. And I'm not the best at it either, believe me. You cut me off on a good wave, you'll find out how much love and tolerance I got out there and stuff. Not that much. But then again, I've earned, after 50 years, so it's some of the better spots, I've earned my set waves here and there. And that's what we have to do as surfers. You know, we got to pay some dues. I've gotten stitches in my head. I've gotten bullwhipped in the Achilles part of my foot by a stingray. I could go on the dues that I've had to pay. Not to mention being a skateboarder. Professional skateboarding, I'm refining my technique today. You know, it's like gold. I just heat it up and the impurities come out every time I get out there. I'm pretty good at it still. I'm the only active professional skateboarder at my age in the world. And I have really good sponsors and stuff. I travel all over the world still as an ambassador. But the bottom line is, I'm really just a 12-step warrior. Wherever I go, man, especially you send me to Mexico or Brazil or like, boy, they're going to hear some shit. Especially when they come shit-faced drunk, you know, into the hotel late at night. And I'm sitting there, you know, just drinking a coffee and going like, hey, you're not done yet, huh? It's funny, but I don't preach and I don't beat people over the head with it. I'm pretty subtle when it comes to my 12-step stuff, but it's all connected to not having any lower companions in my life, staying away from slippery slopes. That's the only reason I can even get through this stuff, you know, is because I work a program 24 hours a day, and I basically take my program seriously. It's a matter of life and death. Robert told me that from the get-go. He goes, this is no joke. This is a matter of life and death. And I take that seriously. So the 11th step for me is heart and soul connected to God. Prayer, talking to God. Meditation, listening to God. And I might not hear a voice or anything. I might just hear the wind or a bird. Like, I love hearing the hawks when they like give me that, like way high up in the sky like that. Like, we're way up here, bro. We're much more spiritual than you. So to attain to even get up there to where those guys are at, as the birds fly, so shall I. So I'll go surfing that day. And I'll do what the hawks do, or the little hummingbird getting all busy and sipping the nectar of life. I'm like, yeah, flowers, hummingbirds. Those guys are tough little warriors. I love them. So I can metaphorically relate my life to everything around me, but especially the birds. And, and that comes from the 11th step. That comes from just being able to meditate, to be quiet for a bit. And, and just listen. Now, where is the light going to come? Even when there's a day with no sun, God shines that light on me and just goes, go this way, dummy. So it's that third step, and not only that, it's the serenity prayer, the wisdom to know the difference. I'm not going to be able to change nothing out there except for this little guy. That's it. Other people, places, and things, I'm not in charge of that, and I don't blame all of those people, places, and things for any of my character defects or shortcomings. It's just like, that's about me, and that's about me working a program and cleaning myself up from the inside out. Nothing on the outside is going to change me. No more praise, no more money, no more contracts with vans, none of that stuff. None of that's going to change me. Only thing that's going to change me is my sobriety and one more day working a program and knowing that God wants the best for me, but I got to want it for myself. And like the prodigal son, I can be as broken as ever. But you know what? I don't have another chance. I don't have another relapse in me. I'll end up dead like my friend Bunker Speckles or my friend Jay Adams, or like the list goes on. I got a list of soldiers that are gone. And every one of them, their deaths were connected to either money, greed, drugs, alcohol, sex, you name it. They stepped on somebody's, wrong toes or whatever in a place where, the locals are running the deal. If you ask for trouble, you're going to find it. And us alcoholics, we're good at finding that stuff. So the good thing for me today, practice the 11th step daily. Work a 12th step like my life depends upon it. Because if I can save or help one person, just one, that's the only reason I'm even here today. If anybody hears any similarities in my story or hears anything in what I'm saying that will help them get one more day sober, then I've done the best I can do. And the bottom line for me is I'm getting one more day. And being of service for me gives me another day sober. Because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to stop at the liquor store on the way home after this meeting. I've got faith. And my faith is, even though I can't smell it, taste it, feel it, hear it, I know that it's deep instilled in me, that God is one with me in this moment. Thou and I art one. Thou and I will always be one. Thou and I have always been one. These are my mantras. These are things that I take to heart. These are things that give me grace. And the grace is, to be graceful is to do something difficult and make it look easy. Just like Jerry Lopez, man, at Pipeline. Make it look easy, but it's not easy. It's very difficult to be courageous in dangerous situations. But I've learned that from sobriety. I've learned it from surfing. I've learned it from skateboard. I've learned it from being in punk bands. It's crazy the shit that I've learned, even when I was loaded. But the quality of my life with 19 years sober gives me the grace that I always wanted, no matter what, in front of all my peers, in front of everybody, in front of Jeff Ho, when we surfed against the ET surf team right at the pier and kicked their ass halfway through the heat. Before we even got to 15, they already surrendered and walked away. And we go, let's get a keg, let's party. And then they just threw the money and stuff and said, fuck you guys, get out of town. That's how I grew up, especially in Hermosa and Manhattan Beach. There's a lot of animosity towards us. But you know what? I've learned how to get along with everybody. And I've learned to show up. And nobody in Hermosa or Manhattan gives me shit anymore. They love me because I'm lovable at this point in my life. And the faith and the grace is the only way that I've been able to do it. This is the only way I've been able to do it. With people like Robert in my life, with Marina in my life. Mi vida loca. I've lived a crazy life, but you know what? At 69 years old, I'm connected to God. And hopefully, I'll be celebrating 20 years. You know, it's just like, it's one day at a time. But with a solid program, September 20th, 2026 could be a big deal for me. You know, it's no small deal like with the sobriety thing, you know, but I'm just doing one day at a time. 19 years is where I'm at. I don't do any shortcuts. If I reach 69 years old and 20 years sober, that will be the reward. That will be insane. It will be like a dream come true for me. So I'll just wrap it up. There's one thing that just keeps resounding inside me that I'd like to share with you, and then I'll just close it up like with some serenity. In the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about perception, and it's connected to the 12-step, but in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna's talking to Arjuna before he's going into battle, he says to Arjuna, he says, "He that perceives me in everything and beholds me everywhere never loses sight of me, nor do I ever lose sight of him." Shanti. Thank you for letting me share.